Hey, how are you?
Good,
Howdy.
good. Thank you so much
You,
for having us, man.
hey, no
We're so
worries.
excited it's happening.
Welcome to the Rockpit. We've been following your career pretty much since the start, so it's always wonderful to have you over. Back in the early days, I used to have to travel to the US to see you. Now, now at least you're coming to see us over here. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, making
it's
it
one,
down.
yeah, and it's a fantastic new album. In fact, it could even be my favorite.
Oh,
Oh,
thank
thank you
you.
so much. I appreciate that, man. It was a, it was a beast to make. And then, the fact that it's doing so well and there's so many people like you that love it, is just so wonderful, because you never know. Could have gone
No,
either
no.
way.
Yeah, I mean, you started it pre-COVID, and I'm guessing that experience sort of colored it, especially the lyrics. There's sort of like strong theme of mental health in there, but it's a sort of positive message. And I think that makes the album itself a lot stronger. It really does. I think it has helped people.
I hope so. I mean, we hear so many amazing stories from these kids that have listened to this album and have taken a lot of these songs as their mission statements and their theme songs, their personal thoughts, and it's just it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. This album definitely would be a much different album if the pandemic hadn't reared its ugly head, but that's the silver lining of it, is that we had to take this impossible situation and how we were feeling during it and put it somewhere. And the the wonderful and beautiful thing that I realized after we released this album is that I'm not alone in those feelings. And so I guess that's the cool thing about music, is that when you are writing your truth, you don't always see that there are other people that are feeling like you and that are going through the same thing. So a lot of times it feels very solitary and very lonely in those thoughts. And so the inspiration kind of came full circle, because once I started hearing all of these stories about some of our fans and their journeys through it, and how these songs really just lined up with that, it made me feel so much better about everything that I was going through. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
wonderful.
it was a horrible time, particularly for people in the industry. I mean, I know a lot of my friends over here relied on that the production side of things for an income, and when that's
Yeah.
taken away from you, it really changes things up. And for me, the sort of like journey through the album was all the more powerful because of that. And to end with that wonderful Raise Your Horns was just sort of brought it all together.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a funny tune, because I remember talking to you and I was like, we're sitting out on the porch and just like, man, it would be really funny to have a song called Raise Your Horns, but let's not have any guitars, no drums, no bombastic anything, and have it really truly be about what that phrase means, to me. And which I ended up doing a little bit of research on that, and apparently Raise Your Horns um in in uh in a few different ways means to exalt oneself. And so really wanted it to be about that, and uh and our very uh angsty record with a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
One of my
Oh,
favorite things about Raise Your Horns is there's a review or two that came out of the record, and you could, I mean, they're like, and then the bombastic and huge and giant rocking song, Raise Your Horns. Like, oh, wow, you didn't
You
even
didn't listen
listen
to
to
it,
the
yeah.
record. Awesome.
Apparently there are
the,
some people that will review our record without listening to it, and I thought that was hilarious. Yeah.
Wow, that's I'd never get away with that. That's it is incredible though that two of the I guess the songs that people have connected with most in my experience that I've spoken to are the slower ones. Like Terrible Things is the other track there that people in my circle seem to love.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. Yeah, that one, you're grappling with still trying to have hope in humanity when you're seeing all of this strangeness and this hate for hate's sake. And so you know, I love, maybe I'm selfish, especially as a vocalist, because I feel like if I'm going to be screaming my head off in one song, I have to kind of show this other side too, because I want people to be like, I'm not just that. But there's room for that in rock and roll, and sometimes you have to show a little bit of heart and you know, really try to put those messages out there. It's become kind of a mission statement for us, because we have so many people that we are so incredibly grateful that follow us and actually listen to what we have to say. And so if, you know, if you can, you know, make somebody think about something in a different way through music, then we've done our job.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very positive album. I mean, I got the sort of like themes of like redemption and even rediscovery, because I guess for a lot of people, um, on a number of different levels, that's what the pandemic did for us. I mean, I was sat locked away in a room listening to old records, and
Yeah.
that was my rediscovery. But I know it went a lot deeper for a lot of other people up there as well. So,
Yes, especially for musicians. I mean, when this is your life, I mean, I've been in this band since I was 13, so I've literally, it's become so much more than just trying to pursue it as a career and all that. That becomes your identity. So for me, I was in something that probably resembled a homeless person. Like that was like how what I was wearing every day, and then you're like looking at yourself in the mirror, be like, I'm no longer like Lzzy Hale that, you know, gets on stage and rocks out. Now I'm just Elizabeth Hale, and who is that person? I don't even know you anymore, you know? So we went through somewhat of an identity crisis through that, but man, it's all back now. And it's been a long time coming over to Australia. So woo, we made it,
Yeah,
guys.
let's
We're
do
here,
it.
we're back.
what was it like when you finally got back on the road? What were those?
Intense.
Yeah, the shows have been really intense, and also, you know, it's been different because for the good part of for a full year we followed really strict, you know, COVID protocol, and you're going to all these towns where you have friends and you can't see
Can't see
them.
anybody.
They're out in
Yeah.
the crowd, and you're like, hey, sorry, you know, got to keep the wheels rolling on this thing, and you know, we've done pretty good. We haven't had any like big COVID cancellations on our, you know, from our
On
from
our end,
fault of
yeah.
our own, and whatever. We're pretty much over it at this point.
Yeah.
So just
I mean, that is the difficult thing, isn't it? It's the logistics of it all. I mean, even now, there are shows cancelled because one member comes down with COVID. I mean, I know things are obviously a lot more relaxed now, but it's yeah, it's still an interesting time to live through, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
it's wild.
the thing I most love about Hailstorm is when people say things like "Rock is dead" or "Rock's on the way out," and I just go, "Oh, Hailstorm." It can't possibly be true. There are a lot of great new bands out there as well. Do you feel any sort of pressure to be role models or to lead the way, carry the torch? Because in my opinion, you're doing a fantastic job doing that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. I think
Thanks,
that
man.
the big thing is that we're just ourselves. You know, it's
Just do
like
what we do.
I didn't I
This is what
didn't
we do.
get into this genre of music because it was cool. I mean, for heaven's sake, I was listening to Alice Cooper and Dio when I was in
Oh,
sixth grade, you know, and
Nice.
trying to convince all my friends who at the time, you know, this is like the 90s, they were into like Backstreet Boys and TLC and all of that. And it's like, I'm like, here, but listen to Love It to Death. They're like, why do you love that? So, you know, I didn't get into this to be cool. So if I never get to be cool or sit at the cool kids table, that's fine with me. And speaking of which, because I actually we had this discussion with Alice Cooper about that. And he's like, Lzzy, rock is exactly where it needs to be, in the
yeah.
sewer. That's
In
where
the
we
gutter.
belong, in the gutter. And every now and then we pop our heads up and like something happens with a band where now all of a sudden it's like on, you know, on the pop charts or something. And it's like, but you know, it's always got to be down and dirty, and you do it because you love it. And if we didn't love it, we wouldn't do
Yeah.
it.
Alice is a very wise man and
Yeah.
very, very generous with his time. He once took me out to play golf, which
Oh,
if
that's
you knew how badly I play golf, you'd realise what a sacrifice that must have been for him.
awesome.
Yeah.
I know he
But
was trying to teach, he was trying to teach me to no avail. I'm terrible. You know, I hit that golf ball like it's a hockey puck, and you can't
yeah,
you
he
don't do
took
that.
he took his band out with him last time he was over here, and we had to source golf clubs for the guys. So it was quite
That's
fun. But yeah. So let me ask you a few big questions. We've got a radio show as well, so we'll put a bit of this up on the radio to publicize the tour. When did you both? And this is the question I love asking people because the answers are always so varied. When did you both know that music was definitely the thing for you? Was there a defining moment? I guess for a
yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
people, there's that 1 second where they know, and
Yeah, I remember. I remember sitting in the car, like seventh grade, and the rock radio station was on my way home from school, and this is like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. That was all being played, at the time, and I was just like, I don't know why. It was like I need to play guitar now. Like, just no, I don't. I just knew. I was like, no, it's
yep,
guitar time. Here we go.
it is now guitar time.
And things haven't changed. Here we are.
No, no, no. Similar. Now, my dad's a bass player, and I've been taking piano lessons since I was 5, and so there was always like kind of music around, but I was never thinking about it like this is needs to be my thing. It was just always around, and then my little bro and I, we ended up writing a song together, and there was a talent show that was happening at the Schuylkill County Fair in central Pennsylvania. And just in a field, we were like, it was like a stage, a little amphitheater stage, and we were driving in the family van, and we're gonna go do this talent show because we thought it'd be fun. And little bro, RJ, my drummer, he keeps bugging me and he's like, we need to have a band name. And I'm like, buddy, we're not a band. We're just going up there to do it for fun. And he's like, no, we can't go up there as Lzzy and RJ Hale. I'm like, all right, fine. What do you want to name the band? And so we tossed a few ideas together, and he's like, well, what about Halestorm? And I'm like, that'll work for today. Sure, we'll do it. And we get up on stage and we play this like 5-minute song with a drum solo in the middle of it, and I'm doing this like this Moog synthesizer thing. We ended up getting the 3rd place trophy.
yeah.
Still have it. It's over
Oh,
there.
we still have it. Yeah, we I stuck it right into the Grammy because we found it. But I remember like after that performance, because we had never really played for like strangers before. It was always just like for family members and whatever. And RJ and I were both like vibrating, like literally just physically shaking, like, oh my God, this where do we do this again? And so we're at the kitchen table that night, and I'm like telling my parents, like, okay, I have this plan, we have to figure out how to do this. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And little bro with a mouthful of mashed potatoes is like, well, I still get to be your drummer, right? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, we're a band. And then we just started playing everywhere and anywhere, and we were quite obsessed. It's like to the point that like you'd meet somebody in the grocery store, be like, oh no, yeah, I'm in a band called Halestorm, and we're working on our autographs and stuff. So still doing it to this day.
Still working on that.
Still working on that autograph. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get that really fast one, haven't you? That is easy to do.
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over the years.
Yeah, yeah, they do. It's funny. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I got Paul Stanley's autograph, and this is the only one that stayed the same over the years. I think out of
Oh, that's
everyone out
awesome.
there, it's crazy.
Consistency.
So now the big question: if you could have been a fly on the wall for the creation of any great album, any point in the history of rock and roll, what are you going to want to be there, actually seeing being made in the studio, so you get to witness all the magic happening?
For me, I think it would have been, there's so many of them, but
Jeff Buckley Grace,
yeah,
for sure.
Jeff Buckley Grace, or Tom Petty Wildflowers,
Yeah.
or Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, because that was
yeah.
also with Dio, and I'd love to like know how all of that was put together. Yeah, don't know.
Any of those?
Any of those. Yeah.
Yeah, some fantastic ones. Yeah, I mean, some of my personal favorites there as well. I mean, I love listening to stories about people who have recorded with Dio because I'm so slowly piecing it together until I'll know exactly how he worked it out. But apparently, he used to like doing crossword puzzles while people were playing him things. And when he
Oh,
looked up from the crossword puzzle, that's when you knew you had you had something good.
Wild.
that's awesome. That's a great way to do things, actually. If something actually pulls you out of your distraction,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
probably great. Yeah, that's awesome.
I just thought it was a great story. And we always close with a really easy question. What is the meaning of life?
To be happy.
Yeah.
You
Find
know,
your happiness
find your happiness.
and boobs.
And boobs. You gotta throw that one in, you know. Oh,
Well,
nobody can
I'm
argue with that one though. Nobody can argue with that one. You know, it's that's so interesting because you know, I feel like we're always chasing our happiness and trying to be as kind as you can be to everybody, and you know, do what you love.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
The meaning
sometimes
of life.
it is as simple as that. I've been asking that one for 14 years, and one day there'll be a book, and boobs will be in there now. So,
All right.
Boobs, Joe Hutton.
if you don't mind, if we could do a shout out just for the radio show, publicize the tour. All you need to say in there is just that you're introduce yourselves. You're listening to the Rockpit, and we'll play any song you like off the latest record, Back from the Dead.
Awesome. So you wanted us to introduce a song as well?
Please, yeah.
Do you want to do like? Want to do like terrible things?
Sure.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Lzzy.
And I'm Joe. We're from the band Halestorm.
And you're listening to the Rockpit. And this is our song off our album Back from the Dead, Terrible Things.
That's wonderful. That's we'll have that out tomorrow night. So
Sure. Oh, you're
Thank
so
you.
sweet. Seriously.
you get to New Zealand on my birthday, which is I wish I could come over and see you over there, but you land in Brisbane, I think, and play on the 2nd of Feb. So it's not far off now.
That's awesome. Well, happy early birthday. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you. Have a safe trip. It's been wonderful to talk to you this morning. And yeah, we'll try and get this interview up tomorrow on the website.
Oh, thank you so much, darling. Really appreciate it.
Take care, guys. It's lovely to speak to you both.
You too. Bye, man.